Hello world, welcome to episode number 7 of the Jimmy Canz Show. Today we're going to do another classic SuperCard retrospective. As I mentioned in my last one, Starrcade 83, this is going to be the only one from World Class Championship Wrestling that I'm going to cover, and that's 1984 Parade of Champions. So let's get going on this one. Little background on World Class. It was owned by Fritz von Erich. It was an NWA territory. And to be quite honest, I think it was the most forward-thinking of the NWA territories. And I do believe that had World Class had a more robust broadcast package and more finances, they could have, at least for the short term, they could have competed with Vince during his national expansion, because they got it, I think, a little bit more than Crockett did. Crockett was kind of stuck, pigeonholed into that old school mentality, whereas Fritz, as old school as Fritz was, he allowed for more creativity, I do believe. So let's talk a little bit about this card. Like I said, it was an NWA event presented by World Class Championship Wrestling. And I wanted to talk about this one for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, at the time, it drew the largest audience of any event in professional wrestling up to that point. The stadium shows had been done prior to this, but none of them drawing more than about 26 to 36,000 in attendance. Various stadium shows at Shea or Comiskey, etc., etc. But this one was held in Texas Stadium, in Irving, Texas, home of the Dallas Cowboys, on May 6th, 1984, and they actually drew in over 50,000 people. So, just take that into consideration. I mean, it's pretty much almost double what had been, drawn up to that point. And this is another reason that I say, I think they could have competed, at least for the short term with Vince. It was a memorial show. So give you a little background here. David Von Erich, which is one of Fritz's boys, was, probably the most, I don't want to say gifted, but he got it in terms of what professional wrestling was about. And he was, earmarked to be an NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Unfortunately, in February of 1984, while on tour with All Japan Pro Wrestling over in Japan, David was found dead in his hotel room. So it was, very, very sad. I believe it was some type of an intestinal infection that spread rapidly. It was nothing to do with foul play. There was no illegal substances or anything like that. It's just a very sad, tragic situation. So, World Class decided to bring back the Parade of Champions. There had been Parade of Champions done in Texas before, but, it had probably been about 12 years since there had been one, and there had never been one under the World Class umbrella. So they decided to bring it back as a memorial show for David. And, because, David was earmarked to become the next NWA champion, they decided that, that they were going to turn around spoiler. Obviously, all these things, are going to give away results. But, they decided to, give Kerry the shot rather than David, obviously. And, as a memorial show, they did work with other NWA territories to get some talent in specifically for the memorial show. Jim Crockett Promotions did sign on. Flair was going to go over and defend the NWA title. So let's get into the card a little bit, and I'll stop here and there and point out to certain things about this card, which is why I wanted to discuss it in general. Our first match on the card saw Hacksaw Butch Reed, who was on loan for the show from Bill Watts' Mid-South. Pretty much, squash Chick Donovan, less than 5 minutes. It was, like I said, things were shifting in the industry. To get squash matches and enhancement type matches like this on SuperCards was common at this point in time. They hadn't gotten, hey, when we're doing a SuperCard, let's not do these. But, these were still kind of new. So you still got these. Like I said, it was less than a 5-minute match. And, it was pretty much all Butch Reed. Finish was, off a simple shoulder tackle. And it was, again, a different time. Let's not dwell on this particular matchup too much. Like I said, it was just an enhancement match. So next we saw a very interesting matchup specifically for the time, because it was a heel versus heel matchup. And that saw the Ugandan Giant Kamala accompanied by Friday, who, was just a masked individual with a pit helmet, known as Kimchi when he came to the World Wrestling Federation. But they called him Friday in World Class. And manager Skandor Akbar taking on the Great Kabuki with his manager Gary Hart. And I believe Kabuki, at this point in time, actually was just joining World Class. He decided to leave Crockett and was, moving into, join World Class Championship Wrestling. And this match, looking at the two combatants in it, Kamala and Kabuki, again, was what you thought it would be. It was very slow, very kicky punchy, a lot of rest holds in this match. And this match went longer than it should have. Let's be honest. It was about a 12-minute match. Very slow-paced 12 minutes. And it resulted, as you would probably expect in a heel versus heel matchup, especially at this time, in just a double DQ. Both Akbar and Gary Hart got involved, and the referee threw the match out. So there was that one. Next on the card, this is another interesting matchup. Junkyard Dog had wrapped up with Mid-South, and he was a few months away from signing with the World Wrestling Federation. So he decided to work this memorial show. His opponent in this one was the Missing Link. So I don't know how many people are familiar with Missing Link. Missing Link actually did end up joining the World Wrestling Federation right around the same time as JYD, if memory serves. Link was a real character, especially for this time frame. Like I said, that's one of the reasons I think World Class could have competed. They actually, developed characters. It wasn't just, John Smith versus Bob Jones, like you got to see a lot of times in Crockett. Their individuals actually had character. Like I said, we just got done talking about, Kabuki and Kamala. Kabuki did come over from Crockett, but again, I don't think they really knew what to do with him over in Crockett, and then, World Class kind of did. That was one of the things that they were good at. Was the characters, and that's something that Vince, took to another level. But, Missing Link was, managed by Skandor Akbar. Akbar was, huge in World Class. Almost everybody, that was a heel ended up being managed by Skandor Akbar at some point in time during their tenure in World Class. He had a stable, so to speak, back in the day. That's what they used to refer to him as. He referred to all of his charges as Devastation Incorporated, if I remember correctly, which was pretty cool. Like I said, they understood, character development. So, it was a slow-paced match between JYD and Link. Both of them had the hard head gimmick, so there was a lot of exchanging of headbutts and who would get the upper hand in that type of thing. And I believe JYD got the W in this one, and I think this was another one that was a DQ finish. So, that one was what it was. I think, World Class, I don't think wanted their guy to lose clean, being that JYD wasn't part of the promotion, and, they didn't want JYD to do, have to do the JOB, considering the fact that he was, doing them a solid by coming to work this memorial show when it wasn't even part of the company. So they worked it out where he would get the W, but it wouldn't be a clean W type of thing. So there was that one. Next match was for the NWA American Tag Team titles. And again, it was, Skandor Akbar managed team of the Super Destroyers. And masked tag team was actually the Irwin brothers under the masks. But, this was a point in time when a lot of masked tag teams, the individuals in the team didn't really have quote-unquote names. They were just referred to as Super Destroyer 1 and 2. Similar to when we did the Starrcade 83 retrospective, and I was talking about the Assassins, and it was Assassin 1 and 2. Same type of thing. So they took on the team of Rock and Soul, which was Rock and Roll Buck Zumoff and Iceman King Parsons. Again, characters. Rock and Roll Buck Zumoff, Iceman King Parsons. Wasn't just, Buck Zumoff and, John Parsons. So, it was, like I said, and the other thing with this is the first match on this card where individuals actually had a true entrance. Because that was one of the things I think that, World Class did really well. They started to get that, the spectacle, so to speak, of professional wrestling, and actually give these guys grandiose entrances. And when I did the Starrcade retrospective, I didn't, touch on it, but the only two individuals, excuse me, I didn't really touch on it, but the only two individuals that got any type of entrance in that event were Flair and Race, and the only one that had any music for their entrance was Ric Flair. Came out to his traditional 2001 Space Odyssey theme. But with this particular matchup, Zumoff and Parsons actually came out to Sister Sledge's We Are Family. And I want to touch on that from the aspect of when that music drops. If you get a chance to go and watch this, when that music, you just feel it energize the crowd. Kind of an odd choice of song for professional wrestlers, but it's still, it's got energy, that song. And when it hits, the energy of the crowd, everybody gets on their feet and everybody starts cheering, it was something. And it was like, I think seeing some of this, because this is, still about a year out before Mania, the first Mania, but I think Vince probably saw this and realized that there was something to this, because that's when Vince turned around when he really launched into the stratosphere was with the rock and wrestling connection. He realized, hey, there's something to this music and wrestling combination. So, Zumoff and Parsons ended up getting the W in this one and winning the championship. Zumoff was in there for the majority of it. Mounting some offense, then getting beaten down by the heels. Finally getting the hot tag to Parsons, who finishes the job. So Parsons' finisher, he was the innovator of the booty bump, which you see a lot nowadays is done by Naomi. Iceman King Parsons did it first. So that was the finish of the match. When he got the hot tag, he ended up hitting the booty bump and got the 3 count, giving Zumhofe and him the tag team titles. So next is the first of 2 matchups featuring the Von Erichs. Before the match started, though, again, to build upon what I was talking about just beforehand with the music, we got the debut of the fabulous Freebirds' new music video for their new song, Bad Street USA. Now, anybody of probably the age 35 or older that is a professional wrestling fan can probably sing this song verbatim. Iconic song. First wrestling song written specifically for wrestling. Wasn't just a pop culture, popular music, contemporary music, utilized by a superstar. It was written, specifically for the wrestlers, and actually performed by the wrestler himself. Michael P.S. Hayes, sang the song. And again, let me touch on that. Michael P.S. Hayes. Again, character development, something World Class did well. He wasn't just Michael Hayes. They threw that P.S. in there. And the Freebirds, it was, him. It was Terry Bam Bam Gordy. It wasn't just Terry Gordy. Buddy Jack Roberts. It wasn't just Buddy Roberts. It was Buddy Jack Roberts. They knew how to develop characters in World Class, which was a fantastic thing. So they play the music video, and then after the music video's over, Bad Street hits. Out come the Freebirds. This is a 6-man come as you are street fight for the NWA 6-man tag team championships. Fritz was coming out of retirement for this one to team with his 2 boys, Kevin and Mike. And I think the stip was if the Von Erichs won, then Kerry could replace Fritz, because Fritz wasn't, coming out of retirement permanently. This was like a one-night only thing. And, when the Von Erichs came out, again, this was an entrance. They came out to Ted Nugent's Stranglehold. And the place erupts when that guitar riff starts hitting at the beginning of Stranglehold. For those of you that aren't familiar with the song, Google it, take a little listen, or whatever. It's a rocking song. And, the whole crowd just jumps to their feet when they hear that kick in. And again, it was a street fight. A lot of blood. And I believe, if memory serves, I think Kevin ended up getting the W for the team with his flying cross body. And then post-match, before they could really even celebrate, Killer Khan made his debut in World Class, attacking Kevin, before the Freebirds had even left the ring. And what was interesting here, again, product of the times, just the announcer talking about this, and I don't want to offend anybody. I'm quoting, again, the time, referring to, this Asian American as the Oriental. This large Oriental, blah, 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 with an Oriental spike. I mean, it's cringeworthy to listen to nowadays. To listen to these racial, this nomenclature so freely utilized is just unsettling. But again, it was a product of the time. So that one was what it was. Von Erichs, coming out on top. Not a big surprise considering it's a memorial show for David. And then we had the main event for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. 2 stipulations added to this matchup. There's no time limit. And if the champion got himself disqualified, the title would change hands. Normally it's, the championship advantage, where the title can only change hands on pinfall submission. That was, thrown out the window. So, and it pitted NWA World Heavyweight Champion, the Nature Boy Ric Flair, on loan from Crockett, taking on the modern-day warrior himself, Kerry Von Erich. Flair got his normal entrance, and Kerry actually entered to the music that his brother used to use, which was a nice, little touch. David always used to come to the ring to the Tanya Tucker song, When I Die, I May Not Go to Heaven. So, Kerry used it on this evening, or this afternoon, technically, I guess, for his entrance. And, again, different time. Pretty decent work rate match. But the finish was, a little odd. They worked in some of their known signature type stuff. Kerry hit the claw, and the Von Erichs were known for, and everything. But he ended up picking up the W with just a simple backslide. Backslide 1, 2, 3, beats Flair. Being that it was a memorial show and everything like that, Flair was very graceful in defeat. He didn't go all ballistic and try, shook his hand, left the ring. Classy thing. Now, here's where things get really weird, in my opinion. Memorial show, for David Von Erich, we just had the 6-man tag, we just have the World Championship, and the show wasn't over. So they actually closed the show with a mixed tag team matchup. Big mistake, in my opinion. For a couple of reasons. The final, image of that event should have been Kerry winning the title for his brother. The mixed tag after, fell flat. Not only from an emotional standpoint, but it wasn't a good match being a mixed tag. It pitted gentleman Chris Adams and Sunshine taking on gorgeous Jimmy Garvin and Precious, and neither Sunshine nor Precious were trained professionals. They were, just ring valets, and they threw them into the mix here. When they were in the ring, it was just sloppy catfighty, stuff with, just really awkward looking thrown punches, nothing of any consequence. I mean, and the cameraman, almost blew the whole thing. He was focused on the girls catfighting and almost missed the pinfall. You barely see the pinfall in the corner. I think it was just a roll up by Adams on Garvin for the 3, which was almost missed. So I just don't understand why you would close out the show with this match. Just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So, it was, like I said, I wanted to touch on this one for a couple of reasons. Like I said, the music aspect, the character development that's done in world class, what the crowd they were able to draw and everything, all very, historically significant. But, for, looking at the card as a whole, it was an 8-match card, and 3 of them ended in no contests. Because you had the Kamala match thrown out, you had the JYD match thrown out, and was it 3? Oh, yeah, it was 3. That's right, because there was a dark match that I forgot to mention. Technically it was a 7-match card, for the closed circuit. There was a dark match there that went to a time limit draw. Take that for what it is. And then, like I said, I don't understand why, either of the 2 Von Erich matches didn't close the show, but, historically significant event, for many reasons. I'm gonna, knock it down a couple, for, you know, the quality of most of the matches and everything. I don't think it was as strong or as significant as the first Starrcade. So for that, out of 10 belts, I am going to give World Class Championship Wrestling Parade of Champions 1984 a 3 out of 10 belts. So there you have that. I believe next up on my classic retrospectives, I will discuss... I think I'm going to discuss my first World Wrestling Federation SuperCard, and this is an unusual one, but I wanted to touch on it, and then, no, it's not WrestleMania 1. Actually, I'm going to discuss the Brawl to End It All, which helped set up, things and really launch the rock and wrestling era. It's an unusual one to discuss for a couple of reasons, but I want to make sure that we touch on it. So that'll be my next classic retrospective. I hope you guys are enjoying these. Please, give the channel a like, a share, a subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. That way when I put new content up. I always got my prediction shows that I try to do for the bigger events and everything with my friend Rodney. Has joined me now for those prediction shows. So please give us a listen. We do a little banter back and forth. We don't just talk about who we think is going to win. We talk about how stories could develop from things, what directions they might be going in, everything. Give me a look up on the Twitter. JL Canz is my Twitter handle. You can look me up on Facebook and everything. So I appreciate your guys' support. Comment below. Tell me what you like, what you don't like. More than willing to make changes to the channel. And I hope to catch you guys next time, either on my next classic retrospective or one of my predictions. I'm also going to be doing a NFL mock draft special, before April's draft. So, keep your eye out for that. I'll probably wait until after the combine, do a little more research and evaluation before I record that one. Not sure exactly what kind of format I want to use for that one just yet, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So thanks for listening, and we'll catch you guys next time.